Yeah, what's good, y'all? It's your man, the Bigga P, and here to share my thoughts on the card that just finished about an hour ago. First, I will start off with the undercard fight. Oh, even before I go into that card, um, uh, I just even before that, there was a fight between Tony Bellew, aka Pretty Ricky Conlon, and David Haye. Um, was not expecting for it to go the way it went. That's for damn sure. It's just one of those things that you're like, when you see a fight like this, you're like, okay, yeah, this is either like a money grab or, this is just a money grab or something to, I guess, tide the time over until you're ready to fight someone serious. And that's what I thought when David Haye decided to fight Tony Bellew. Now, Tony Bellew is the current WBC Cruiserweight Champion of the world. He's also, and he came up from light heavyweight and he won the title last year. Um, Now, considering David Haye, who was also himself a former cruiserweight, and he has in fact held the heavyweight title, and lately he's been walking around muscular at almost 230. You're thinking to myself, this should be a pretty one-sided fight. And for a while it was, for maybe a quarter of the fight, it was pretty one-sided. And then the Achilles injury happened, and then it was just sad to see. Haye was trying to fight on with one leg, and Tony pretty much was trying to take advantage as much as he can, but he gassed out, and then finally he was managed to put enough punches together to send David Haye through the ropes, and then his corner just immediately stopped the fight. Even though Haye, to his credit, got to his feet at 9, going through the ropes with a one leg, got to his feet at 9, which shows incredible heart. And so Tony Bellew won by all accounts. It's an upset. It's a crazy upset. Now I'm not happy for a couple things because David Haye. What made David Haye a very special guy is he had a lot. Although he was a hot boxer, but he had a lot of physical gifts that are pretty much lacking at the heavyweight level, being fast hands and fast feet to go along with his power. And then all these injuries he's had in the last couple of years, and you can tell that his body's just giving out. It's starting to give. He can barely do it anymore. And then seeing him lose to Tony Bellew, who, for all intents and purposes, is not a heavyweight and should not get gassed to go after a current heavyweight champion right now, should go back to stay a cruiserweight and defend his belt. Just to see that, it just makes me a little sad because I'm thinking Haye's he's done. He's physically done because his body can't. He's getting injured left and right. He's probably gonna be out for another year. His body can't take it anymore. So it was an interesting fight to watch. I didn't like it because of what happened. It was pretty much an injury. It was called basically the fight how it ended. It was simply because of injury, an unfortunate injury. So yeah, I just wanted to touch upon that briefly because, like I said, that was just one of the damnedest fights and damnedest upsets that I saw. So yeah, that fight was it was, like I said, it was sad to watch. And of course, in that same card, Paulie also himself got KO'd in the 8th round by a body shot. So that British boxer was pretty lit that day. You have two so-called quote unquote old guard getting stopped. Which brings me to tonight's card. And the untelevised part, unfortunately, I saw parts of it. I saw Chad Dawson, by all accounts, winning the fight and getting stopped in the final round. So I was like, man, this is just going to be the day of some upsets. We got Chad getting stopped, and we got Paulie getting stopped, and we got David Haye getting stopped. And you're like, okay, so maybe we're gonna have an upset of a we're gonna have a big upset on this card. Um, or something that's even more surprising than usual. Didn't end up that way. The first fight on the first on the televised part was their excellent Lubin versus Jorge Cota. Cota had only fought maybe twice in the last like 15, 16 months. Hasn't been pretty active. And then I saw him come in there with his knee brace on. And usually when boxers have knee braces on, it's just pretty much it just ends badly for them. I mean, the fight itself was really nondescript. Cota had his weird wide leg stance. Lubin was just, you could tell. I mean, at first you could tell Lubin was respecting his power a little bit, and then he started coming in, trying to get him on the ropes. And Cota fought back as best as he can. And I thought, Lubin wasn't hitting him, but in the fourth round, that left hand, that dip, and boom, that wide left hand overhand right on the chin, out cold. And I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting Cota to actually go slip off that one shot like that. But I mean, he got up. Make no mistake about it. But the ref was like, nah. He saw that the lights were on, but nobody was home. So no better way to make a statement, of course, with the TV audience than a knockout of that nature. So now that puts him in line with facing whoever's the winner of Jamel Charlo and Charles Hatley, whenever that fight gets rescheduled, done. But like I said, it wasn't the best of fight, and to me, I would say Lubin probably needs just a little bit more seasoning. Although Jamel hasn't been looking that great lately. So right now I'd say it's probably maybe a 50-50 on that fight, or whoever actually wins between those two. But like I said, Lubin did what he had to do. In the crowd, in that type of audience, and he scored a knockout of the year candidate. So after that, takes us to our main event. We have Keith Thurman, the WBA welterweight champion of the world, and we have Danny Garcia, the WBC welterweight champion of the world. Now, the hype before this fight was, we're looking at a fight of the year candidate. I didn't really get those type of vibes. Although, to tell you the truth, like when I was in the house last year for Thurman Porter, I didn't get those vibes either. I didn't think I was going to get fight of the year, too. And then, to my surprise, those two came out slugging for 12 rounds, damn near. It was a great fight. But still, I just didn't get that feeling for this fight that I was going to see a fight of the year type candidate. For different reasons, I would have to say. Mostly because of Danny, because Danny's style is not really conducive to me a fight of the year. Probably the closest he's had to type of fight of the year type fight was Lucas Batiste on the undercard of Floyd Canelo about 4 years ago. That was probably the closest I've seen to a fight of the year type candidate with him. So the fight itself, everyone had high hopes. Everyone's thinking, oh, are we going to see a war? The fight itself was good. Make no mistake about it. It was good. But it was not great. It was not a great fight, and it was definitely not a fight of the year type of candidate fight. What it did show was there was levels to this fight. And there were levels as in Keith. Keith showed more layers to this fight than Danny did. One of the few things that Danny did, Danny's flaws is lateral movement, lots of movement. Danny's not the type to really cut off the ring, doesn't really cut off the ring at all. It was prevalent pretty much in the Peterson fight. The floor was all on display for that fight. So you think that would work on that more, and also in the head movement. Although the defense did improve for Danny, he was still getting popped way too much with his head. Moving your head to the left or right would have made a lot of differences, especially with the type of lead rights that Keith was landing, especially early in the round. I thought Keith went after him like you're gonna respect my power. So first couple of rounds, I mean, he was just, I mean, he buzzed, he was buzzing Swift pretty good in the first, second round, especially buckling him. Landing the right, letting the right hand underneath the left hand thrown by Swift. It was pretty. I mean, I thought, okay, this is gonna be type. It's gonna be one of those types of maybe. But also I was fearing that that if Keith fought like that, he would get tired. So there was kind of levels to this fight. First, it was Keith doing that just to get just to make sure Danny gets his respect, just to make sure if he actually rushes in that he knows he's going to get hit with some shit. And then after that, it was just Danny never adjusted. He just stood there waiting for a counter, waiting for something. Didn't turn up the pressure. Was not really much of an aggressor. That's not really his style. And then when Keith wasn't going in doing what he's doing, he stood comfortably and boxed him from the outside. Occasionally going in like stealing rounds with the flurries and stuff like that. And it got to the point where it was just basic boxing that was taking Danny apart. And the crowd was not having that. The crowd was just like letting him have the boo. It was having him have it with the boos. And then, but then Keith was just piling up the points. Danny just wasn't doing anything really. I mean, the only time Danny, I think maybe a couple of swing rounds that Danny might have won was maybe because Keith tempered down his work rate a little bit, just not to get gassed out. But in the last 3 rounds, though, I do admit it was kind of those were some iffy rounds, and I do think that Keith almost gave away the fight. With the extra movement, because with movement is good, but you gotta make them pay. Like if you're moving, you still gotta make your opponent pay. You gotta throw more punches. And I felt, especially the last couple 3 rounds, you're thinking to myself, after Keith did put in solid work, but you're thinking to yourself, is he gonna De La Hoya himself out of this fight? And then like I said, in Danny Swift Garcia was just not getting anything in this corner. I mean, his father wasn't telling him anything. Wasn't telling him to feint. Wasn't telling him to do anything. Wasn't telling him to try to cut off the ring. Wasn't giving him any type of advice in there to actually stop. I mean, the only thing Danny was trying to do, and I think this probably helped a little bit, was go to Keith's body a little bit to slow him down just a little bit. To stop him from actually going. Stop landing those lead rights that he was doing. So it was, like I said, there were levels, and Keith pretty much showed his boxing ability, full boxing ability, and Danny, well, it may be time for a new trainer for him. Now, let's discuss the scorecards. Myself, I think I was like 117, 111, although I could see 116, 112. I had no problem with those two scores. And that was one of the judges have it. Then one of the judges had it 115, 113 Thurman. Fine. Whatever. I mean, I didn't think it was that close. But then you had the other judge that had it 115, 113 for Danny. I'm like, and now I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? That was, it should have been a clear, unanimous decision to me. And then you see, the judge giving him the fight, 115, 113. Are you serious? Right now, Danny winning 7 rounds when he was pretty much didn't do a damn thing for, I'd say, maybe 3/4 of the fight. Barely. No, like I said, I'm just glad there wasn't any judging mishaps or boo-boos or whatever you want to call it. The piss poor judging. And Keith rightfully won and is now the unified WBC WBA welterweight champion of the world. So kudos to him for actually winning that fight. Where does he go from there? I mean, barring any mandatories coming up, and they probably are, I would love to see him. There's always, Brooke and Porter, and there's always whoever's the winner between Brooke and Errol Spence, which is supposed to be coming up. And then also, too, you have Pacquiao. Now, I've always, like I said, now, I know, most people want to ignore Pacquiao, but Pacquiao is a champion out of the division, and he is the biggest name in that division. And what boxing needs to do, and it's been happening in the other divisions, it's starting to happen more. You got to get rid of the old guard at welterweight, and welterweight still has its old guard. I mean, you have your Birdos, you have, I mean, then you have your Petersons, although he recently just won the other version of the WBA belt just the previous month. And then you have Pacquiao, who is the WBO welterweight champion. I would love to see that fight go down. One of those fights go down at least either by the end of this year or next year. Try to bring more and more clarity to the division. Um, as for Danny, I mean, I think personally that this should be a wake-up call of some sort. That welterweight is a different beast than 140. Now the fights he had, I don't think really prepared him. I mean, he had there was Malignaggi, and then there was Guerrero, and then there was Vargas. I think those were his welterweight fights. I didn't think he fought enough tough competition, especially to fight someone like Keith, who has actually been putting in work in the welterweight division. And I was never a fan of how Danny actually picked up his belt either. Although Thurman, at least you understand, like he was the interim champion. He was pretty much Floyd's mandatory, and he never got that opportunity to face Floyd. And then pretty much, and then he got the belt by beating Danny by beating Robert Guerrero, who I don't think highly of these days at welterweight. So. But I think it might be time for Danny to look into maybe getting a new trainer. Someone to, like I said, if you want to stay at 140. I mean, although he secretly has a 147 chin. I mean, he took some shots from Keith Boy. I mean, those were some shots. So his chin's up there. I mean, as much as I've talked shit about him, his chin is up there, and I can see him. He can absorb a lot of shots, but he's gonna need to be a little bit more multi-dimensional if he thinks. If he's actually going to survive at welterweight. So that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, I mean overall the card was okay. I mean for the hype it got. I mean like I said, it was just it was like I said, it was just good. It wasn't great, but I was entertained, and that's what really counts. So yeah, most likely I'll probably watch it again at some point tomorrow. So yeah, so let me go. Do my thing, and until next time, peace.